Hello, we are back to school again with Professor Alex, and as I explained to you yesterday, we are going to be doing multiplication. Now, multiplication is really good if you have a timetable chart. I recommend that you make one for yourself because it helps you with practice, and then if you take it with you to school, it will aid you with your course assignments. Your teachers normally allow you to have a multiplication table when you're first learning how to do multiplication, and you can either ask your parents to get it, or if you're a parent of the child and you're watching this video, you can actually go and buy one of those composition notebooks from Walmart, Staples, or Office Depot that has the timetable chart on one side or the other of the composition book that helps your child with math, and they can use that composition book as their math book to do their coursework. So what I did was I went ahead and I started creating a timetable chart for you because factors come into play here. Your factors here are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on both sides. We're not doing all the factors of each individual number, but the individual factors in play will help you with finding your multiples. So here we are. We're going to start with 1. The one tool that you need to remember with multiplication is anything that 1 is multiplied by is that number. So that means 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, 4 times 4 is 4, 5 times 5 is 5. That is because you are saying that that number is only present one time. So if 2 is there by himself, 3 is there by himself, 4 or 5, they're the only one there. That's why 1 times that number is that number. Now, 2 is going to be a little bit more difficult because when you have 2 of a number, it doubles. And this is I'm going to show you some math which will kind of help you with understanding multiplication, because in addition, 2 times 2, interestingly enough, is equal to 2 plus 2. Oh, I'm sorry, let me correct that real quick. It's always good to do math with a pencil so that you can erase when you make a mistake. But 2 times 2 equals 2 plus 2, and 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now, I'm writing it out like this for you so that you can kind of understand why we start doing multiplication. Because 2 times 3 is actually 2 plus 2 plus 2, which equals 6. And we're going to do one more, which is 2 times 4, which equals 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, which equals 8. You see how these problems starting to get long? Now the last one I'm going to do is 5. 2 times 5 is equal to 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, and that's because there are 5 2's in this multiple. 2 times 5, there's 5 2's present, which is 10. So 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 5 is 10. Same thing here, 6, 8, 10. The fun thing about doing these timetable charts is that once you get it down one side, you can always copy it, or you can finish one direction first and then go back and see if you remember how to do it a second time. So it kind of gives you a little extra practice if you don't just write the answers. But writing them repetitiously helps you with memorization, which helps you with just knowing what a multiple is. For example, when we look at your 3's, 3 3's, that's what 3 times 3 is. 3 3's is 9. 4 3's, which is 3 times 4, that's 12. 5 3's, which is 3 times 5, is 15. Now I know this because I've spent a number of years doing math. But you get 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. And the good thing about doing a timetable chart, because when the average timetable chart goes up to about 12 times, which is 12 times 12 is 144. So it takes a lot to get there. And one of the things that you learn with a timetable chart is if you don't know all of your multiples, if you remember the largest multiples that you can to get to a number, you can either add or subtract to get the rest of the way to whatever number you're trying to get to. I'm going to show you that in a moment. Let's do our 4s. Our 4 timetables are a little less difficult, but they're also a little bit harder to remember because you got to count by 4s. So you see your 4, 8, 12. Now you're going to do 4 times 4 is 16. Now notice I didn't start over with 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3. That's because we've already answered those questions. The question we haven't answered is what is 4 times 4 and what is 4 times 5? So 4 times 4 is 4 times, which is 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, which equals 16. And then 4 times 5 is going to be 20, because that is going to be 4 5 times, and 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 20. So we're going to write 16 and 20 into our timetable chart, and then we're going to do the fun one. The fun one are 5s. Usually 1s, 5s, 10s, a lot of the times 3s are the ones that people remember the most. Now, in this situation, when I explain to you that there are times where if you know some of them, then you can move on from there. If you remember that 4 times 3 is 12, but you don't remember what 4 times 4 is, well, 4 times 4 is 4 times 3 plus 4. And I'm going to show you parentheses. This is order of operations. I'm going to go into a whole chapter on order of operations when we get to the review. But order of operations, this is a parentheses. And when you have a parentheses, you want to do what's in the parentheses first and then do what's outside of the parentheses. If there isn't a parentheses, you just do whatever's convenient with you. But with parentheses, we could just go over it right now. You have parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. We used to say it as like an anagram. That would be a Y. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And I'm probably going to have to spell check that excuse. I'm not teaching you English today, I'm teaching you math. That is actually EXCUSE. But this is one of the biggest issues with those of us that start relying on technology, because we forget some of the basics, such as remembering how to spell, because we have autocorrect, T9, predictive text. Back to math though. Please excuse my dear Sally. PEMDAS, that is the order of operations. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, adding, and subtracting. So if you have a multiplication problem, an addition problem, and a subtraction problem, you want to multiply the number here by the number here before you add this number to this number. And I'm going to show you that right now too. And I kind of feel like I might as well just throw this into this particular chapter because it just really makes sense for you to know this. I should have threw this in the factoring chapter, but since I was just talking about factoring, I was just talking about factoring. So, we could have just used a problem that we had, but that's okay. I'm gonna give you a new problem. because we have 5. If you know that 5 times 2 is 10, but you want to know what 5 times 20 is. Well, 5 times 2 is 10. You need 20, so you need 2 10s. So if you know that 5 times 2 is 10, and you did this, this is an exponent. Exponent means multiply the same problem twice, which is equivalent to 5 times 2. Well, actually, that would square it. This would multiply the same problem twice. So I'm going to show you a different problem than the one I was originally going for. And then I'm going to show you the one that I should have been trying to go for, because I feel like, let's talk about it because it's multiplication, and then let's make it make sense. So 5 times 2 is 10, and 5 times 2 is 10. But because these two are in parentheses, this number is multiplied by this number. So if we were going for a larger number, you squared this. 5 times 2 times 5 times 2 would actually equal 100. So I just wanted to show you that so that I could show you the correct way to do it, but then I want to show you the correct problem that we wanted to do. So you have 5 times 2, and you know that 5 times 2 is 10. So what you wanted to do was get your parentheses and do 5 times 2 plus 5 times 2, which is different from 5 times 2 times 5 times 2. Now I can make it make sense. So you know this is 100. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. You did what was in the parentheses. So your new problem is going to be 10 plus 10, and that equals 20. So if you knew what 5 times 2 was, but you didn't know what 5 times 3 was, and you were trying to figure out what 5 times 4 was, 5 times 2 plus 5 times 2 is going to equal 20, which is also 5 times 4, because how many 5s did you have? You have 2 5s here. You had 2 5s here, which is 4 5s. 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 5, 10, 15, 20. So, and that's one of the reasons why it's easier to do 5s, because if you know 5s, you should be able to know how to just go straight through them. But that's also memorization. And it's easy to remember 5s because, you know, if you add 5 to 20, that's where we get the same problem that I just did. You know what the next answer is. 5 times 5 is equal to 5 times 4 plus 5, where 5 will be in the parentheses. So 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 plus 5 is 25. So 5 times 5 is 25. So you would have 5 times 4 is 20, and then this one, the great 25. It's almost like playing bingo. Now that we've got the whole table completed, now I want to show you some more complex problems that timetable chart's not going to really help you with this. We're going to multiply 1, 2, and 3-digit numbers, and I want you guys to practice this with me. So as we're doing it, you can pause the video and then pick it back up and see if you get the right answers that I get. and I'm going to try my best to explain this to you where you can get it on the first go round. But we're going to start with single digit numbers multiplied into double digit numbers. So let's have 13 and let's say 3. When you have these numbers, 3 times 13, multiplication is interchangeable, which means that you can also write this as 13 times 3 and get the exact same answer. Okay, you can't do that with division, but you can do this with multiplication. You can do it with addition. You can do it with subtraction. Well, you're not going to get the exact same number when you do it with subtraction, and you're not going to get the exact same number when you do it with division. But with multiplication and addition, it is interchangeable. But you want to put your single digit below your double digit. Make sure that you carry over your sign. So if your 3 times 13 or 13 times 3 problem was written out like this, you want to rewrite the problem like this. Now, what you want to do is, first things first, you want to go from bottom to top, left to right. Sorry, bottom to top, right to left. Let me say it again so that we're doing it correctly. Bottom to top. And then from the right to the left. The reason why I originally said from left to right is because you read from left to right, but when you do math from right to left until you start doing division. That's why everything is piece by piece here. So first things first, you want to do 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And then 3 then is going to be times the 1. So now 3 times 1 is 3. And this is 39. Now I'm going to give you another problem, slightly more difficult. But it's still going to be a 2-digit number multiplied by a 1-digit number. So we're going to say 3, 13. Well, I wrote 12, so let's do 12. But let's do 12 times 8. And the reason why I want to do 12 times 8 is because we're going to start drawing in this order of operations thing. So you have 8 times 2, because you're going to go from bottom to top, right to left. 8 times 2 is 16. But you're not going to write 16 here, because if you wrote 16 here, that would be wrong. So what you want to do is first, you want to write your 6. Now, you're going to write the 1 right here, above your problem. Then you're going to multiply 8 times 1. Now, this is going to be your order of operations because your original problem is 8. Man of many errors. 8 times 1. But because you carried your 1 over, it is 8 times 1 plus 1. Now, any number times 1 is that number. So 8 times 1 is 8, and 8 plus 1 is 9. So this is now a 9. So we're going to do 2-digit number times a 2-digit number. And this one gets a little bit complex. The last one we're going to stop off on today is going to be a 3-digit number times a 3-digit number, so that I know that you're familiar with it. But I think that's somewhere between 6th and 8th grade work. No worries. I know you kids are smart. So I'm going to throw it at you just to make sure that you're ready for it before your teacher gives it to you. So here we go, 3-digit number. I'm going to do it kind of small. We're going to have 3, 2, 3, and 6. Let's do it like that. And we're going to have 9, 7, and 6. And the reason why it doesn't matter what numbers they are is because it's interchangeable, but it's better to do it this way because I want you to learn the order in which you perform the formula, complete this equation. You want to start from bottom to top. You're going to start here with your 9. Now, with 2 and 3-digit numbers, this one's a 3-digit number, but I'm going to segue back to a 2-digit number. And let me show you the 2-digit numbers so that you can pause it and work it out, and then You can compare it to see if you got it right. But 3-digit number. You want to start with bottom to top, and then you're going to go over to the next number, and then over to the next number, and that is going to be your row 1. Now your row 2 under the 7. This row, you're not using this column, so you're going to have a 0 here. You can write it now, or you can write it when you get to the second row. This one, you're going to have 7 times 6, 7 times 2, and then 7 times 3. Then your third row, because there's 3 rows here, in your third row, you're not using row 7 or row 9. So in your third row, you're going to have a 0 under the 9 and a 0 under the 7. And you're going to start working from the 6 and do 6 times 6, and then 6 times 2, and then 6 times 3. So I'm going to write these out for you so that you see what's going on. First, you're going to have 6 times 9. Then you're going to have 2 times 9. Then you're going to have 3 times 9. And the second one and the third one is going to add the additional digits from the first number. So 6 times 9 is going to be 54. I know this. I know you need to work it out. Grab a calculator, test it. It's going to be 54. Easiest way for you to figure that out. Any number times 9 can be devised from taking that number, multiplying it by 10, and then subtracting that number. So if you know your multiples, you can always find your timetable if you don't know what your timetable is, and you can do it fairly quickly. So if you remember 6 times 10 is 60, you want to know what 6 times 9 is. 6 times 10 is equal, well, 6 times 9 is equal to 6 times 10 minus 6, which is 54. So let me make us some space here. And remember I told you that you're going to put your 4 here, and then you're going to put your 5 up here. This is why I told you that your second problem and your third problem is going to be the multiple plus the extra number here. So you're going to put 5 here. So 9 times 2 is 18. So that's going to be 18 plus 5. That will be 23. You're going to put a 3 here, and then you're going to put the 2 up there. So this is going to be 3 times 9 plus 2. 3 times 9 is 27. 27 plus 2 is going to be 29. So since there's nothing else to multiply, you would put your 29 right here. Now you're going to work on your 7s. We're going to work that out together too. So here you have 7 times 6, 7 times 2, and 7 times 3. Just like last time, your 7 times 2 is going to be plus the number that's going to be here, because this is going to be a 2-digit number. And then the same thing here, 7 times 3 is going to be plus whatever the 10-digit numbers here. So 7 times 6, if you don't know what 7 times 6 is off the top of your head, you know that 7 if you know your 5 times tables, you know 7 times 5 is 35, right? Because 7 times 6, well, 6 times 5 is 30. That's going to be the first thing you're going to remember. Is, let's write it over here. 6 times 5 is 30. So 6 times 7 is going to be 35. So since 6 times 7 is 35, then you add 7 to 35, and that will give you 7 times 6. So that would be 42, right? So you put your 2 here, your 4 here, and remember I told you this one is going to be right here. Now, follow me. This gets very interesting after a while, because once you start doing this, it starts making a lot more sense. The practice and repetition starts becoming second nature to you, and you just start working it out like this. So 7 times 2 is 14 plus 4, which is 18. So you're going to put your 8 here, your 1 here. So now 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 is 22. So since there is nothing else to multiply here, you'll put your 2 here and your 2 here. Now lining up your problem is important, and that's why we put these zeros here as place values, to make sure that the problem is lined up correctly. This keeps us from making a mistake, so that when we go to the next phase is easier than the last phase. And that's why I did the 3-digit number inadvertently before I did the 2-digit number, because once you get to the 2-digit number after doing a 3-digit number, you're like, yo, this is a piece of cake. So we're going to do the 6s. Remember I told you 6 times 6, 36. So 6 times 6 is 36. So you're going to put your 6 here. We're going to get rid of this 4. Now, when you're working this out on scratch paper, you're not going to be able to just delete the first number. And I don't recommend that you waste your eraser on erasing the numbers above hand. And normally, you would have the numbers written above. So you would see like 2, 3, 6, like that. And you just know this was the first problem, this was the second problem, this is the one I'm doing right now. So, and this helps your teacher, because when your teacher checks your work after you've shown your work like this, they're able to follow along and see if you miss a step, if you didn't pay attention to your multiples, if you multiplied the wrong digits. Because if you start going across and you do 9 times 6, 7 times 2, and then 6 times 3 and put that in the first row, you're going to get the wrong answer. So by showing your work in this fashion, it helps your teacher, and then it also helps you be able to go back and look over your work and see what you did correctly or incorrectly. So we said 36 was 6 times 6. So now we're doing 6 times 2 plus 3. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15. So you're going to put 5 here, bring over your 1. 6 times 3 is 18, because that's 6 plus 6 plus 6. That 18 plus 1 is 19. So since there's no other numbers to multiply, you put your 9 here and your 1 there. Now, while I understand that this looks like it is very complicated to do, when you're first starting out with this, one of the best ways to go about doing it is to get your rows together. And you can do this from the beginning of the problem. If you've got your rows together and you line up all your problems, everything matches up. Once you finish working out your problem, then you add the rows together. 4 plus 0 plus 0 is 4. 3 plus 2 plus 0 is 5. 9, we're going to skip over and say 6 is 15, plus 8 is 23. So you're going to put a 3 here and a 2 here. because this is going to carry over to the other side. And we're going to go over it again. 9 plus 6 is 15. Plus 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. Plus 3 is 13. So that makes it 23. Just in case you were unsure. Then we come over and we do the next row. 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus the added 2. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now you're carrying the 1 over, and you have 9 plus 1 is 10 plus 2 is 12. And you're going to carry the 1 over again. And it's good to put it up here at the top, even though it could have went right there. You don't want to get the problem mixed up. You put the 1 up there. 1 plus 1 is 2. So the answer to your problem is 6, 7, 9 times 3, 2, 6 equals 2, 2, 1, 3, 5, 4. Now, the last problem I'm going to go over with you today, I want you guys to look at this and compare your answers. If you worked this problem out before I got to it, I want to see exactly how much you've picked up. So we have less difficult problem, 89 times 26. We're going to go from bottom to top as we always do, and from right to left as we always do. But since we only got 2 rows, you can draw 1 row here. You can always do rows, but once you get good at keeping your problem in order, you don't necessarily need to draw this line. But with the line being drawn, you want to start here and go from 6 times 9. You already know 6 times 9 is 54 from the last problem. So you put your 4 here, you put your 5 here. Notice I did not set up the second line this time because I already knew it from before. But because there are 2 multiples down here, you're going to have 2 rows here, and then you're going to add those 2 rows together. If there was 3 down here, you would have 3 rows. If there was 5, you would have 5 rows, and then you add all the rows together. So when you're dealing with a single multiple times a double digit multiple, you want to put the single digit multiple down here, because then you're only going to have 1 row. There's no need to add, because you're going to add and multiply along the way. Now, first thing we did was 6 and 9. Now we're going to do 6 and 8. 6 times 8 is 48. So you're going to put your 48 plus 5. That key. 6 times 8 is 48. 48 plus 5 is your current answer, which is 53. So you're going to put your 3 here under the 2, and then the 5 in the next row, even though there isn't a next row. Next, you're going to do your 2's. You're going to go 2 times 9. 2 times 9 is 18. Usually your multiples are a little bit easier with 2's. So I would say 1, 2's, sometimes 3's, 5's, and 10 are going to be the most remembered numbers that you're going to have. Yay. Now, 2 times 8 is 16, but 16 plus 1 is going to be 17. So now you're going to have your 17. Now you're going to add this together, and you're going to have 4. 8 plus 3 is 11. Look, see, trying to do it off the top of my head, and I almost got that messed up. I was about to tell you 12, but this is 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. 7 plus 5, that is 12, plus 1 is 13. 1 plus 1 is 2. So this is your final answer. This is why you have to make sure that you count. If you would have carried 1 over, you got to add that in as well. And you want to make sure that you check and double check your problem for accuracy, to make sure that you're not making any mistakes. But that is all that we have for you today, and I'm glad that you guys spent the extra time to go over this, and I really hope that you guys like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please comment below. And if in the event that you want to pick me up as a tutor, I'm going to have information for my tutoring class in the description. and hopefully I will be able to see you tomorrow with some division. So enjoy your recess.